What is going on, guys? DBG here, and today we are going to be talking about 5 different types of cards to avoid, especially on day one, but genuinely avoid to start my team, lads, because these are players that not only I think are going to be useless for you guys, but are also going to go pretty down in price fast. Like, it's almost the same things every year. The same logic applies every year. The types of cards that are good in day one year are going to be good the next year. So these are the types of players that you definitely should not buy on day one, especially if you are playing no money spend. If you're someone who's going to drop $300 into the game on launch, do whatever the hell you want. You're not going to find a bad team on day one. If you are someone that's trying to be frugal, that's trying to not spend money on this game, as well as not spending all of their time on the game, these are cards to not buy. And the first type of card, and I'm just putting it out there right now, is high graded cards and holographic cards. They are gimmicks. If you want, like, if you're like a holo collector, I know there are holo collectors out there, go for it. Would not advise you to waste your MT on day one, specifically on holo cards, because my team points are really scarce. You don't have your my team points. As well as that, because most people start off with the 10,000 MT, you're going to not see them being super cheap. Whereas some years, cards were super cheap at launch. They're going to be a little bit expensive. Like, there's not going to be like 2,000 MT rubies. I mean, 3, 4, 5k. So that's kind of what you have to look at in terms of that. So spend your MT on a card just because it's hollow to start the game is not really it, especially a high grading. That is a card that I would strongly advise you guys to evolve. Another type of card that I would suggest to avoid is not the Steph Currys. These type of cards right here. So the high overall base set cards. So neither of these are here. I'm just gonna think. I think there's a one of Rondo that's an amethyst from TTO. Like, this is probably the biggest example of it. Is this Rondo right here, where I'm like, so he's a 90 overall. And a lot of people are going to be super hyped at these guys because he's a 90 overall. And I mean, like, he's Rajon Rondo. So a lot of people are going to be really excited about Rondo. But, like, for me, I'm looking at this and I'm just like there's just no reason. Because the thing with Rajon Rondo is that there's going to be way better point guards in the game. You're going to be getting way better point guards as time goes on. And they're going to be really expensive. And as well as that, they're going to keep dropping in price. So you see the way, like, these cards are in there for 2 weeks. So every single time there's a new card drop or there's a new batch of cards, they're going to drop in price. So some cards appreciate in value. Like, if you guys don't know, last year, some of the promo cards appreciate in value. Like, if you had Dame day one, it appreciated. If you got a LaMelo day one, it appreciated. Dr. J appreciated. Shaq did. So did Darren Williams. Like, there are certain cards, if you get them day one, they go up. Because some people are opening packs on day one, they become a little more scarce. The issue is that every single pack opens, there's probably a 75% chance that one of these cards is going to be pulled in it. And one of these, like, Season 1, Volume 1 cards. So, obviously, like, if you want to have a couple of them to fill out your squad, great, go for it. But if you are taking Season 1, Volume 1 cards and you are, like, using those guys as your main options, they're just going to keep going down and down in price because there's going to be more and more of them in packs as long as they are there. If there's, like, an absolutely god tier one, like, for example, there's a card that's, like, the best card in the game, then that doesn't apply necessarily, because you never know when they go out of packs in 2 weeks, they might appreciate in value. But most of these cards are really not going to be worth it at all. Then, shooting guards. Don't waste your MT on a shooting guard, and I cannot stress that enough. If you pre-ordered this game, you have got Michael Jordan. If you pre-ordered this game, you've got Michael Jordan. And everybody, on the day the game's coming out, if you play this game for an hour, you're getting Fred Jones. So, like, you're coming out there with a Michael Jordan card, a Devin Booker card. Let's not forget, if you pre-ordered the Jordan edition, you've got a Booker card, a Jordan card, and Fred Jones. You got 3 pre-order shooting guards. All the pre-order cards are shooting guards. So don't overspend on a damn shooting guard. Unless it turns out these cards absolutely suck, and at least one of these 3 is going to be good. So at least one of these 3 is going to be good enough to start. Telling you for a fact, at least one of the 3 is going to be good enough to start. So then basically, don't overspend on a backup on day one. The shooting guard position is one that it's important, but I'm telling you right now, we're going to get god tier shooting guards. We are going to get absolutely god tier shooting guards, lads, in my team. And again, I cannot stress it enough. Like, if you're pre-ordering the game, if you're just playing the game, you are going to be fine at shooting guard. Spend your MT in other positions. You will be fine at the 2. So, next. After the shooting guards, we are going to be talking about a little bit different type of players. And one of these players basically epitomizes it. And it's going to be like, say, Paul Millsap. And let me explain what Paul Millsap normally is at launch. The type of cards that you don't want early are jack of all trades. You don't want guys that have got 75 across the board. You want specialists, if you get me. Like, if you want to play a lock, you need someone with good defensive stats and hopefully a 75 3 ball so that you can just hit when you're open. Like, that's what you need from a lock. What you need from a shooter, if you want a shooter, is at least an 85 3 ball. What you want from your point guard is a decent dribble style. It depends on what way you want to play him. You can either use him as a lock and have him good defense. You can probably get good defense with speed. You can probably get like 2 of 3. You can go speed, shooting, defense. You can probably get 2 of the 3 on day 1. So it all really depends on your like archetype, what type of point guard you want. You can probably get speed, 3-point shooting, defense. You can get 2 of those 3 day 1. And if we get a Ron Harper type card, like you might use your point guard as a lock and surround him with like a shooting guard as your primary ball handler. But what you don't want are guys that are meh across the board. So jack of all trades cards work quite well towards the end of the year, or like even in the middle of the year. And the reason why jack of all trades cards work quite well is because they don't do anything badly. When jack of all trades cards start to end up being like 85 plus in every single stat, that's when you're starting to think, okay, yeah, these guys can compete. These guys are actually pretty good. They can compete. But when you're looking at jack of all trades cards as like 75 plus in every stat, and I'm going to give an example. I'm going to bring up the database right here. I'm going to see if I can find Bob Dandridge from this here. So like Bob Dandridge, if you look at his stats right here, other than standing dunk, none of these stats are bad. This card was essentially worthless. He was essentially worthless. He did nothing. Like, he did nothing badly. Don't get me wrong. Like, look, these are fine. These stats are fine, especially on day 1. These stats are really good. The issue is that he didn't do any one thing well enough, so no one would use him. Like, when you do everything at a mediocre rate and nothing well, it is a big issue. And jack of all trades cards, they tend to be quite expensive as well, because people are like, oh my god, these cards can do everything. But in reality, they're not really doing anything. Like a card like, again, Dandridge, he didn't do anything well. Like, jack of all trades cards at the start of the year don't do anything well. They're going to get cooked by they're not going to play good enough defense. They're going to get cooked by good offensive players. They're not good enough on offense to cook the bad defensive players. So it's a real struggle to find any use for those guys, and people still make the mistakes of getting them. People still make those mistakes. And obviously, if you're talking being like, oh, I want to use my favorite players, ignore all of this video. If that's your logic for MyTEAM, why are you watching a damn tips video for MyTEAM? If that's what your logic is. And the last thing I would say is to not spend your tokens too soon on a bunch of random base Series 1 players. So what Series 1 players are is they're going to be in the token market. I don't know what price they're going to be, but you basically need to complete every individual team to get, or you need to complete an individual team before you want to get a trophy case. So what you don't want to do is waste all your tokens and then realize, oh crap, I need to finish a team. I need to finish a team and I don't have tokens for it. So you're kind of screwed. So that's what you don't want to do. And again, the reason like that can be a little bit iffy is that I know a lot of people want to get the favorite players, and that's fine. You stock up on your favorite players, but don't buy unnecessary players. Don't buy players you don't really want. Hold out, hold your tokens. The prices aren't going to fluctuate. You don't need to get, for example, 2/3 of one team and 2/3 of another team. You can hoard your tokens and spend them all on the team you need for the trophy room. That is another big one. And also, this is another one that I forgot to mention here. This is my 6th one, technically. Use your starter cards. Use your starter cards. Get use out of them. What you don't want to do is get Ja Morant straight away. Evo up your Ja Morant to Ruby and then go and spend every bit of your MT on a Amethyst point guard. That's not what you want. Ja will be fine to start the game. Again, if you're pumping money in this game and you've got a Steph Curry, obviously Steph Curry's going to be better than Ja. But at the end of the day, if you will be able to get away with Ja, Fred Jones, Jimmy Butler, a power forward that you want to buy, and Joel Embiid. Like, that team you will survive with that team if you can get these guys evoed in day one. So I wouldn't rush. I would not rush. I would get my starter cards. If you only want to get one starter card, I'll be my guest. Go get your one starter card. But don't be in a rush to replace your starter cards either. Because a lot of the time, starter cards have a lot more value than people think. So they are a lot better than people think. A starter card is not only worth about a 7 or 8 KMT card. So I wouldn't, like, say, before you have Ja Morant evoed and go replace him with another point guard. Just evo Ja Morant, you'll survive with that. So day one, honestly, the best thing you can do is accrue some MT. Get some MT up. The things that are going to go up, I will talk about in another video. The coaches spike in price. Any type of card that's going to be useful down the line is going to spike in price. So things like shoe boosts, a lot of badges are going to come on very cheap in day one. A lot of shoe boosts are going to come on cheap very cheap day one because people don't have a lot of MT. So what you want to do is put your MT into things that are going to appreciate in value rather than things that are going to depreciate in value. I'm going to talk a lot more about that in a video tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.